us. And like I just earlier mentioned, that we're gonna go through some of the information around the course itself and work around the Blackboard shell and work on we'll take a look at the course outline. And already I noticed one error. I've gone through this outline many times, and there's always something that you don't quite pick up, but it's a minute piece, and we'll cover that off. And then go through the topic one on the last slides, and I'll show you how to navigate those slides and what's important and how we're going to do this. All right, so we'll get started and get right into it. And what I ask you to do is that please use your emoticons, and that gives me an idea of if you need some help or whatever. Like I put it inside the chat right now. So if you think I should proceed, because I'll probably stop and say any questions. And if I get a few thumbs up, then I know that I'm just going to go ahead. If there's something you don't quite get, you put a sad face down, and then that will let me know that, oh, maybe you need some clarification. And then if I ask something, how's everything doing, or how am I doing? If you give me happy face, then I know we're okay, and then I'll ask you, well, should we go ahead, right? Now, you can raise your hand in this, and I'm trying to look at the screen on my left where I would see that you're raising your hand. And when my face is going this way, it means that I'm looking at the screen of the presentation. And there's a few things that I get a little bit excited. And sometimes if I stop sharing and I go back and I put maybe a recording on, you won't hear it. And that's because every time I stop sharing and go back to sharing, I have to toggle the sound on those recordings, all right? Or sometimes I'll start going through the slides, but I didn't start sharing again. And please immediately let me know, that, hey, it's time to start sharing. So stop me in my tracks, when that happens. All right. So I'd appreciate that. Okay. So just before we get started, are there any questions that's on your mind right now that I can go ahead? So maybe here's where you can put a thumbs up to, I can go ahead if there's no questions. All right, good, thanks. Okay, so we'll get started. So what it is that I'm going to have a topic commentary presentation. It's a PowerPoint presentation for every topic. And I'll show you how to access that, in the slides that are coming up. But these are really important because they're highlighted, and they'll let you know what to focus on in terms of studying and what's important to be able to complete assignments and to actually do tests. All right, so that's really what I'm trying to do, because there's a lot of information, and you'll see in the actual Blackboard, there's a lot of videos there that the course developer had created. And if there's something that you need a little more detail on, go to those videos and have a look at them. All right. But I'm gonna guide you in terms of where you can spend your time, to the best of your ability to get better marks on the assignments and the test itself. Okay. So we're gonna get together every Tuesday from 1 p.m. to 4 o'clock, and it's on MS Teams. And you've had the link you got here. But once I finish the recording, then I convert that into a YouTube video, and I put it on my RDP course YouTube video channel, and then I will send you the link, and I'll put that on announcements, right? Excuse me, on so that you can access that to in case you can't make the video itself. But I want to kind of coach you, I guess, to the best. This is a general course, and it's about management principles, and I'm going to go through the phases of how we get there. But essentially, though, I'm hoping that I can share some of the experience that I have. I've got a pretty diverse corporate background, where I've done a lot of strategic planning. I've done a lot of total quality management. I've done a lot of operations. It's like I'm a chemical engineer with an MBA, and I spent the first part of my career doing process engineering and working in a nuclear power facility and all those things. and then moved on and took an MBA and got into the management side of things, where I've learned a lot. And I've worked basically all levels, from working with the board chair and the board, down into the executive and doing strategic planning and that, down into the middle management and down on, I've been a, you know, I've worked on the line myself. I mean, when I started my career, I mean, I worked I worked for International Nickel, and I was on inside the refinery doing operation type stuff. So I've got a broad scope of experience, and please tap into that if you have any questions. Some of you might be working right now. If you've got some questions about, well, how can I do this better? I'm all ears. Just or you could email me, and I could go from there. Or and when you have a question, please email me. And I've set up a piece on Blackboard where you can go in and ask the question. But if you just email me about the question, then I can answer you back. And then if I know that it's going to help your colleagues, I will print that answer and keep it confidential with you. But I'll print that answer out and put it on announcements so that everybody can benefit from that question that was asked. So, and there's no such thing as an invalid question or whatever. Ask me anything about what's going on. But what I wanted to emphasize on this slide here is that in today's world, it's all about communication. In real estate, it's about location, location, location. Well, in business, it's all about communicating, communicating, communicating. And that's your superpower. And I'm hoping that by the time you get through this course, you'll have a better idea of how to communicate based on what's going on in the world today. And let's face it, that most people, especially on the leadership side, they're absolutely ADD, all right? They've got so much stuff coming into them that you have to be very surgical in how you communicate. And I'm hoping you'll learn how to communicate that way better than what you do now with me, and use me as as a practice run to be able to give you those skills and awareness of those skills, so that as you move on from this program, you'll be able to hone those. Because I did a lot of work in program management. I ran a lot of very large projects, in terms of millions of dollars of operation and maintenance a year and whatever. And so I had to, as a program leader, I had to go to a board to get resources to be able to do these projects. And what I found out really quickly is that the project or program managers that could communicate much better to that approval board, they got what they needed. And so that'll be a big piece. So the thing is that this article right here, it's got 5 points. It's probably a quick reading, and I'd recommend that you take a look at that, because it's a great example of demonstrated critical thinking. And being a quality person, I'm gonna keep on coming back to standard methods of total management quality and using critical thinking to really get to the nub of what needs to be done in management. So I'm hoping that that will help you make a difference in wherever you go. Okay, so just a little bit about the assignments. I've actually created videos that I'd like you to look at before you start the assignments. So assignment 2 is an individual submission, and I've given you some insights on how to be able to address that assignment and get the best out of it. All right, and what it is that these 2 videos, assignment 2 and assignment 3, they were done in a previous course. So there may be some dates that I talk about there that are out of sync. So just keep that in mind when you look at that. But I just wanted to, I'll give you a sense now, and let's just see if you can hear this. I'm going to play this video just give you an idea what it looks like. So a number 2 assignment is the management style self-audit. So really you're going to be writing answers to questions about yourself. So really you're going to be writing it's an individual answers to questions about yourself, and where you'll find the link to that. And it's an individual submission, and where you'll find the link to that. This is what the link actually looks like, and then you submit that to that link once it's done. All right. So here's a little bit about the assignment expectations. So did you hear that when I put it on? Did you hear the sound? You give me a yes or no. Okay, you have your hand up, so just go ahead and ask the question. Okay, good. You sound okay. So it really gives you some insights around the assignment itself and why I'm asking you to create that or do that assignment, and then an idea around how that can really help you moving forward, right? So let's just go to this one here. The assignment 3 is one where I'm going to talk about going to the next level of management theories and principles, within the age of AI. So I've given you an assignment to really think about, and so that I'm going to talk a lot about why this is so important to you in this video. So let's just start with that. I'm hoping that you see it as an opportunity. And the reason why I want you to see it as an opportunity, because it's all about getting ready for artificial intelligence in your new career. And what it is, it's sort of completing the kind of components of a personal development plan. Now, you can do this on a fictional basis, or you can think of yourself as a student that we are considering, but for privacy purposes, it's basically a general assignment, all right? And so what I want you to do then is to really get a sense of seeing this as something that you're going to use, once you leave this program. So keep it on file, when you do it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this presentation available on my Google Docs so that you could pull up the actual PowerPoint presentation when you view the video as well, and take notes, or however you want to do this. And at the end of this. Okay, so that's the kind of approach that I'm going to take. And I don't have a video for every assignment, but I do have videos for what I think is important and what will help you. And aside from that, please ask all the questions that you possibly can. All right, so here's the thing now. I talked about how communication is your superpower. So here's what I'd like to see from you, all right? I'd like to see headings and subheadings, and underlining and bolding, depicting why it matters. So the points are, people understand your message the first time they read it. So I'm hoping that maybe you're going to use this course as a practice platform to be able to be a better communicator. And the readers have to find you credible and authentic, like, where you provide, a real sentiment about how you feel about things, and you show that you've done your due diligence in terms of researching what you're talking about, and you've got the confidence so that you're credible in what you're trying to explain. So a little bit about AI, right? So here's one thing to remember: like AI is really taking on a role in today's world, and it's all around us right now. And you wonder, gee, by the time I decide what career I'm going to go in, where do I stand? And the biggest thing to remember is that AI won't replace you, but someone using it might. All right, so that's where you need to take a look at. So there's some reading here. I've done this piece, and actually I used AI to help me get to the nub of what that's all about. So if you take a look at this document here, there's the link. It might give you some really good insights as to why I'm giving you this pitch around using AI and using it properly, and knowing about it, because as you leave this program, you're going to see so much transformation, so much change that I haven't seen in my whole lifetime, because that's where AI is going to take us. Okay, so just to kind of support that, I went into Statistics Canada and found out, there's all kinds of jobs already, in terms of artificial intelligence and all kinds of training that you can take, in terms of certificates or whatever, so that to give you an idea that maybe when you leave this program, maybe you want to just do it as a side development or really go right into it, because I'm sure that's where you're going to have a little more stability in your careers as you go forward if you really have a command of how to manage AI. And I'm going to talk about that forever, in this particular course. So those are the locations of where you can get training. So let me talk about the navigation on Blackboard. All right. So this left-hand side of Blackboard is called the navigation panel for those who are new to this program or whatever. And if you want to find out what's going on, you hit course content and you'll get into all these topics. All right. And here's where I communicate with you is in BB, meaning Blackboard announcements. And these Blackboard announcements, I'm trying to give you the best information at the time to help you know when things are coming up, or what I've discovered from people not understanding something or whatever. That's where I'm going to put that through. This is where you find out this. If you want to go into the course, you can click on this MS Teams webinar and it'll take you right in. You don't have to go into or use a bookmark or whatever, a link mark, on your own. So you can actually go into Blackboard and then get to the webinar itself, and through MS Teams. Here's where you sign up. So you go in to find out to enroll in a particular group. And I think I've sent you some information about that. The sooner that you can get into a group, the better. And knowing that if you don't have, if you're not into a group by the deadline, then I'm going to assign people, because we have to move on because there's so much to do in this course in so little time. All right. I've created a due dates calendar, so you can go in and look at the calendar. And here's the topic commentary presentations. So here's where you can access under each topic the presentation that I'm actually presenting from right now. And then I created a discussion board. So if you have a question, I call it Ask Coach Gary. So you could ask a question. What I'd ask you to do as well is that when you do that, send me an email. So I'll look at it quickly, and I won't linger on because that's a little hard to be regular on, to really check that discussion board. It's not top of mind for me. So that would help me. Knowing that, this is where you find out information on the lockdown browser. And what the lockdown browser is, it's software that applies to when you're taking the test online. You can only stay on that test platform, and you need to have that set up before the test. And the biggest problem that I've seen is that people don't set up the lockdown browser on their machine and making sure it's being used before they actually go into the test. So all three tests, 1, 2, and 3, are going to be online. 1 and 2 are scheduled during the course time, and number 3 will be during exam week, I think from the 19th to the 22nd of June. And I'll let you know what date and what time. And there's not very much flexibility on the test 3. You have to do it during that duration. So make sure that once you know what that date is, you're scheduled for it and you can do it. Whereas on test 1 and 2, I give you a bit of a window to be able to do that test on your own time, so to speak. And we'll get into that as we go through the Blackboard piece. Okay, so here's the thing about group work teams. So here's an opportunity for you, to work with people you'd like to work with. So the sooner that you get together and self-enroll and get your group of 3 together, the better off that you're going to be. And I'm asking you to work with the Learning Team Charter. And there's no secret why I'm asking you to do the team charter. And this comes from other experience that I've had, especially in project management, is that well-performing teams are what they have as a base is direction, and they know what they're going to do, and they know how they're going to do it, and they know how they're going to get along. And so that's really key of understanding that learning team charter. And along with that learning team charter, um, there's a video that I want you to watch, before you even start this thing. And it's really part of the curriculum as well. I can't remember the guy's name right now, but it talks about the phases of the group. And the phases of the group are really important because when you first come together, you're storming, you're trying to figure out, well, who's doing what and whatever. And by the time you get through the piece, if you're doing it properly, then you're really going to be performing. All right. So I'll cover that a little bit more as we go through some of those slides. And the thing is, if you do it now, then when we get to, I think it's in one of the later topics where we're actually going to cover it as material for tests. If you get into this, you'll be able to work it and understand how to use it, and you'll be more conversed with it. Okay. And the more effort your group puts into course participation activities, and there's at least 2 per topic, save that information because it's going to help you do the group assignments. In the later assignments of there's a group assignment around assignment number 6 with actual Amazon. So keep that information, and it'll really give you a leg up on understanding and doing better on the tests and that particular assignment. Okay, so again, group self-enrollment, this is where you start, and this is on the left-hand side of Blackboard, the navigation panel. So you click into there and you sign up. And what I'll ask you as well is that, say you enrolled in the wrong group or you want to change, please email me and I will make that move for you. All right, you can't do it by yourself. And then that way I know where you are as well, and then I can keep tabs on what's going on. Okay. All right. Okay, so if you decide to change groups after you enrolled in a particular group, you're required to get approval to change that group from myself. Okay, so here's the benefits of investing in that student learning team charter. So you get clear expectations and you'll be able to define the roles and responsibilities across your group. And what that does as well, it nails down accountability, right? And then you'll spend more time around goals and objectives, and the better that you can refine those goals and objectives on what you want to do in this course, the better outcomes that you're going to have. And it really does improve communication. So you're going to need to set up and agree on what regular meetings look like and where, and then most importantly, how to deal with conflict resolutions. And what I've done is I put in triggers, in that in that learning team thing, so that you know when I need to get involved, and you go from there. All right, so it's going to enhance accountability. You're going to get better collaboration, and again, you're really going to see this. This will allow you to really do some, what I call setting these objectives with purpose. And that kind of experience will really help you, when you get beyond this program and you're going to work in remote settings with other people. So you use that again as a practice to be able to improve your knowledge and skills and awareness of how you could be a better team member and how you can enhance team performance. Okay, skills development, quality improvement, better grades. So the better that you come together and you could manage what you need to do, the better grades you're going to get. And that, it just goes without question. All right. So here's the link. I've sent you the link a few times, but if you go there, and I think I sent you a message about that, don't ask to edit it, just download it and then use it appropriately. Okay. So here's the name I was trying to think of. So what you should do is that take a look at this 3-minute short video here about Tuckman's stages of group development. So someone's explaining that and where you go from forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning. And that will really give you a good sense of knowing what you're going through, like emotionally, and then from an operations point of view, so that it'll really have a good effect on how you can understand what's going on, and and you get a sense of how to make things different, right? How to improve. And then knowing that the Pearson Revel surveys, and you're going to do like 30 plus of those surveys, they shed so much insights on developing powerful team learning. So you can apply that as you're going forward. So as you recognize your experience in your group and you're doing these surveys around the team formation and participation, you'll really get a big hit in terms of doing a better job. And again, so look at doing the 10 Blackboard topic 8 surveys for this purpose. So if you go into the surveys, you'll see topic 8 down there. You might want to get a jump on that to be able to do those, and really after you've watched this video, you really get a sense of how to complete your charter and make the most out of working. And I have to say, myself, when I went through the MBA program, I found team members that we tried to stay in the same classes as we went, and we knew exactly what each other can bring to the table, and we had this collaboration of system of honor that we would honor, and we got top marks. We got top marks as we went through this thing because we knew how to do it as a team, and that's why I'm trying to share this with you. Okay. So the thing is, why are you doing this? Well, the thing is, there's this new term called immersive workplaces, and that's where the environment's going. If you take a look at the larger, sort of knowledge companies, and they're all project driven, and they all involve, people working across the globe and from different time zones, and if you can improve your soft management skills to get along and work together effectively, well, then you're going to be in demand. So that's why I'm trying to make a point of doing that. So one of the biggest things coming through as a group is that what I find is that when I hear about the issues, it's in the last 2-3 weeks of the course, and what it is that people kind of go with it and go with people that aren't collaborating until a point that it starts interfering with their grades, and it starts interfering with the amount of capacity they have to finish that course. So this is all about, if something happens, an issue, you deal with it soon, but it's all about what the term is authentic conversations. And that's being frank about what's going on and getting to those issues as a work group right away. And what will happen? You'll build trust. Your communication will be much clearer. The participation will be much greater. The issues will get dealt with promptly. You'll boost morale. But the whole idea is that you're building emotional intelligence. And guess what? Emotional intelligence is one of the most sought after attributes in management people. So it gives you a chance to be able to get a sense of, hey, how do I do this? And then it will be of value for me to be able to grow in a company that I fit in. Okay, so again, looking at authentic conversations, you got to create a safe environment, and you got to listen, right? 2 ears, 1 mouth. You listen twice as hard as you speak. You got to be transparent. You got to share. Like, you got to be open. Encourage that openness. Provide constructive feedback, and to know that what I'm asking you is that when you submit a team submission, every team member has to sign off on that submission. It's not just, oh, okay, well, someone's in charge of putting it together and sending it off. You got to, all of you members have to take a look at the final product. And again, that's an accounting process that you will learn to use when you leave this program. That's why it's so important. Okay, so what do you need to do for week 1? And I guess let's say topic 1. I'm going to change that because now that we're in a scrunched timeline, and we're going to talk more topics instead of weeks. But so for topic 1, I always talk about the deliverables, and that term comes from my project management experience, basically. And this is what you need to do: is that you need to have this team charter done by May 11th. All right. And the team member appointed the team leader, I'm asking, to upload. So you only one person needs to upload that charter, not all of you, right? And again, here's the link to that. And the thing is that, you need to take a look at what's your vision for this team. What kind of processes are you going to use to be successful? What are the key goals that you're going to set? How are you going to communicate? How is it going to be accountable? So that's where you upload your piece in terms of learning activity. So you click on this and you upload the team charter. And here's some of the things that you need to look at is that put the people in here and that's where the different roles that people maybe want to aspire to. So maybe they'll take that on. But the whole idea is that everybody needs to sign off on that charter, before the team leader uploads it, right? That's the key thing. And if you have any questions, just email me and I'll address that. Now, for topic one, we're already starting the surveys, the Pearson surveys. So you should be doing, using influencing strategy survey and the personal assessment of management skills. And I've got all these surveys categorized by topic, all right? So you'll see it, in a sequence as you're going forward. And then there's going to be participation activities in each topic. And that has a great payoff because it really gets you ready for the assignments, and it gets you ready like for the individual assignments and the group assignments and the tests. So that you'll be tested on some of this stuff as well. And what I'm asking for in these participation activities is really being economical on what you do. Get to the point. I'm not looking for some large paragraphs of things because our time is valuable, and basically it's really to do enough to be able to understand what that activity needs in terms of what it's trying to achieve, and do that as more efficiently as you possibly can. Right. And I'll coach you on that as well. As I'm marking them, I'll kind of give you some ideas of what I'm looking for. But you'll see that to make it easy, I've got tables you fill out, or I've got a template that you use. And that's one is to make it efficient. But secondly, is to give you a better sense of critical thinking. What should go on when you're thinking critically. And critical thinking is going to be one of the major attributes that you're going to need to be able to work in the AI world. And so again, it's practice. You heard practice makes perfect. Now practice makes permanent, right? And that's what to remember. Okay, so here we are. The pre-assessment survey. Some of you have already done it, and what it is and basically you just go in on this link and you fill it out. It's it's a Google survey. And make sure that you put your email on that survey. And what happens is as you submit it, then that survey results or what you compiled will get emailed to you. And keep it, because at the end of the term, in assignment number 6, you're going to be asked to do the post-assessment survey. And you'll get a sense of how far that you've come from where you are today, because you don't need to prepare for this. You just do it and, give yourself an idea of where you are in terms of, I'm going to talk about baseline a lot, right? And then where you are in the baseline, and then how far that you've come along in terms of developing some skills and increasing your knowledge, about, management theories, management principles, and management tools. Okay, so that's where that's going to come. And to understand that, there's one question in that survey that pertains to assignment number 3. And it's really answer the first 2 requirements of question 1, field of career and position level selection, where you'd like to be. So have a look at assignment number 3. There's the link before you even do the survey to get a sense of, okay, this is why I'm being asked that particular question in the pre-assessment survey, and then what kind of impact that's going to have by the time I finish this course. Okay, so that's where you're going on that one. So the individual submission, and you'll see that I've marked these off in the topics on Blackboard, whether they're individual or group. Um, this is due on, let me just see, I want to make sure that I've got these dates going through. Yeah, so it's due on May the 8th, right? And what it is once you've gone through the Pearson Revel survey of personal assessment management, you can answer this question, right? And then 1B is your individual submission, specific about the business that you pick. So I want you to answer those 5 questions in terms of, select a business that you can see yourself managing. And it's not just a one-timer, because I'm going to get you to come back to that business and think about that business and other questions. So make note of, what business that you can see yourself managing, and then which views of management would you implement, which views of management would you avoid, and those kind of, so answer those 5 questions. Okay, so let's start with this. Why do we study management? Well, you don't just study management because you want to be a manager, right? Uh, you want to benefit from the study of management, because even as a an expertise specific type role that you have, you still have to work into a management system so that the better, when as a subject matter expert, you still have to understand, how this framework works, because you have to feed into it. But if you're looking at, why we study management, well, we interact on organizations every day, and there's a platform to work on. So understanding management offers insights into many organizational aspects, and the better that you understand this, is the better that you can evaluate organizations you want to work for to know if you're going to fit, because there's all kinds of aspects around, culture and approach and the type of organizations that are out there. So the reality of work means that we will either manage or be managed, right? So that the more that you could manage yourself, then the more you're seen as a resource in the organization. Okay, so what factors are reshaping and redefining management? And I'm going to talk about a concept called triple bottom line. And I'd ask you to Google it, right? And what it is that there's a gravitation towards triple bottom line. And what that's all about is that in my day, when I started working way back when I had much more hair and it was colored, um, it was all about the bottom line. The bottom line, how much profit you're going to make, and the organization didn't think about, the social aspects of what it was doing. It didn't think about the environmental aspects. So what it is then, it's a balanced approach to managing organizations, with a good sense of caring and purpose and empathy, and so that the triple bottom line is people oriented, it's planet oriented. They used to call it profit, but it's prosperity oriented. And the more that you can be sustainable about that, the more that you have a social caring around that, the more innovation and the customers, you drive that all into that triple bottom line approach. And why? Because you want to be a good ancestor. If you take a look at where we're heading, by the year 2030, we call ourselves consumers. It's because we're consuming all these resources, that we buy. We're using energy up, we're using materials and everything else, and you're good by 2030. We're going to need the way that the improvements in the economies of large nations now. We're going to need 3 Earths to supply the resources in that at the rate we are. So what that means is something's got to give, and that's where sustainability comes in. And you start thinking about being a good ancestor, which will really kind of drive the direction of, where you make your management decisions, and you make it count, so that you can look generations ahead and know that they're going to be enjoying the same quality of life that you are today. All right, and you don't have to go very far to understand that a lot of original peoples in terms of, say like the Iroquois Indians in North America. When they made a decision, they always looking ahead by 7 generations. They understood sustainability, and I think we can learn a lot from Aboriginal people that really have this tie to the land and to the people themselves, and that will really help us make good management decisions as we go forward. So, how are we going to learn in this course? How are we going to learn? So, where it starts with is that it starts with a management theory, and so that we learn a little bit of background around the situation that the management theorist is living in, and knowing what the needs are, and then understanding their contributions, right? Way back when, in the industrial revolution, I mean, Frederick Taylor, it was all about how do we make the things more efficient, right? So Frederick Taylor came up with some management theory, and based on that management theory, that sort of cascades down, or it translates into management principles. Well, based on the theory, I mean, this is what's going to be important. So the principles are derived from the theory, and how do these principles, set the direction for management? All right, so that's the next stage, and then from the following stage is that, okay, well, how do we get those principles realized? Well, it's through management tools, right? So the tools are developed to execute on those management principles. And so that's the connection that we have to make, because students will go through this course and saying, well, why do we have to learn about VRO? It's a platform to be able to look at the competitiveness and a competitive advantage. We're learning. We want to know about management principles. Well, yeah, well, that's a result of a management principle. That's why you're seeing these management tools is you know where they're coming from. So why are we doing all this? Well, going forward, there's going to be a big disconnect between how we can manage today and how we're going to be able to manage, in the next level of artificial intelligence. Well, you need to learn from your past, and learning from your past, then you can understand, where things are being taken to, and then how to maybe give you some baseline to be able to get to the next level. So that's why we're kind of putting that through. Okay, so what I've done is there's a presentation that was done by Robbins on supplement 1A, and what I've done is I've supplemented supplement 1A, and you can find it on Google Docs, and it really kind of gives you a lot more information, and brings in all the theorists that make up part of this, and that's a really good presentation to be able to go through, especially to do tests number 1, 2, and 3. So I'd always ask you to go back to that supplement to really understand what it's all about, because it has a lot of content in there that could help you be very successful on the tests. Okay, so here's kind of what it looks like, from 1890 to 2050 sort of thing. And where we started was, in the earlier years, it was all about execution. How do we make this more efficient? How do we make this more reliable? How do we make this with more rigor? All right, and how do we deal with with the people as we're going through, in terms of focusing on efficiency. So that's where it starts, and that's where we're going to talk about different theorists that came in at different times, and then used what they were working with, back here, like the bureaucratic management theory. The theorists really looked at what they had working for them, and then built this bureaucratic management theory. And then, after a point in time, expertise now became really important, because you can be efficient as possible, but if you don't look after your people and you don't engage them, well, the organization really isn't going to thrive very well, right? So that's where behavioral management came in. All right, and then as we started implementing more and more technological advances, well, then we needed different tools and approaches to be able to get to the next level of performance. And that's where contingency theory came in. And contingency theory is really about, oh, you got a problem? And the answer is, it depends. All right. So you look at the different types of solutions because not all one size fits all kind of thing. And total quality management, what are the standard methods to be able to get things done and in a consistent way to give you the best performance and the best customer satisfaction, right? And then the learning organization came in. Peter Senge talked about, you can have a plan, and as soon as you write that plan, 2 days later, it's almost, outdated. So you need people that can learn using that plan to be able to recalibrate and adjust. So that's when the learning organization came in. And then it got a lot more sophisticated when they started thinking about, hey, everything's a system, everything's connected. So they started talking about systems theory and then quantitative theory. How do we deal with those systems? And then technology-driven workplace. And here, we're kind of like, we're here right now, all right? But what's coming is, take a look at the internet right now, and you look at conspiracy theories, you look at social media and what's happened. There's a lot more less trust in institutions, right? People don't. People think the banks are trying to scam them. People think the government is trying to intrude on their lives. All right, and the thing is that everybody's in their own little bubble and they don't really care about other things. So that's the next phase of management theory and principles and tools that's going to come about because of AI. Because the AI is going to it's a disruptive technology that's really kind of making us act and think and approach things differently. So empathy, caring. If you don't care, just think where AI can go, right? If you don't care, it can be very disruptive. And if you don't trust, nobody will use it. So those are the key components of where the theory and the principles and the tools will lie. And that's where you come in, because that's going to be the rest of your career and how it's going to be transforming at an amazing change rate. Okay, so execution. So here's some of the people we're going to talk about is Frederick Taylor, Henry Fayol, Henry L. Grant, mainly these two guys, all right? And then on the expertise, we're going to talk about Elton Mayo and Mary Parker Follett and Chester Barnard and Max Webster. And then we're going to get into, this is management by objectives. And oh, by the way, there's a couple of test questions around that. So pay attention to that as you're going along. Total quality management and Six Sigma, which is a different contact now from command and control. It's, now you're starting to engage people as you get into this expertise level. And then on the empathy side, well, look where we're going, right? With AI, machine learning, and robotics. And we're already seeing a lot of displacement of jobs because of AI right now in our own time. And I think here's one author I've come across, Rita McGrath. And I think I've got a screen on here that you can check into what she has to say. But what will it take for a future business leader to function as a pillar, being trusted, right? And how should the next generation of managers be taught and developed? Really, that's where it's going and going from there. All right. So again, a different form of employee contract is there. That people are, most people then will be contractors. I know that even in my career horizon, I went from an employee, to a contract employee. So those are the things, the realities of the day. And there's going to be less amount of, company jobs and a lot more of, oh, you have an expertise? Yeah, we'll use you for 6 months, provided that you're providing value to our organization. So it's, you turn into a contractor, All right, and that's a whole different thing. So strap yourself in. This new convergence of trends is coming together. And I'm going to talk about converging trends when we talk about strategic planning and that. And as they converge, it's going to create a lot of threats. It's going to create a lot of um, of opportunities. And how do you leverage those opportunities? Okay, so trust, big time, right? It's the beginning of a tech super cycle where multiple S curves, AI, quantum computing, biotech, decentralization. But the thing is, trust between people, institutions, and technology we depend on will be the glue that holds this together. And if we can't have the glue, then we're not going to succeed, right? So here's just a little bit of Rita McGrath. Has nothing to do with the course, I mean, directly, but I just thought I'd put that in there. I've read a little bit of this book, Seeing Around Corners. She's just a dynamo in terms of really giving a new way of thinking. Okay, so look at, just in 2025, we embrace tech's great convergence. What's coming together, in terms of, and again, this isn't course material. It's really kind of give you an appreciation why this course is so important, right? Things are changing in terms of, decentralization, regulation, smarter devices, cybersecurity, quantum computing, circular economies. I just, I did some work around just agriculture here in Alberta, right? And what we're getting into now is intelligent agriculture, if you can believe that. So the thing is that there's, you know, uh, the Internet of Things, like it means that they're developing sensors so that you have sensors in the ground that are measuring pH, that are measuring temperature. You have sensors that are measuring the air. You have so that all this bringing together of sensors, creating and being managed by AI makes agriculture so much more intelligent, and it's starting here already in Alberta, right? So those are the kind of things that it's happening in our time. All right, so here's how this is going to come together in the course. All right, so what you're looking at, you're looking at trends, business solution challenges, AI technology development, and from a personal point of view, that you're going to assess your management capabilities and management training and development needs through the Rebel surveys. And then that will give you a better sense of being prepared as a manager and understanding what kind of training and management training and development that you need to be able to do what you're gonna do. So these trends, these changes, especially what they call disruptive technologies. An example of a disruptive technology is is a smartphone. I mean, if you take a look at it, the smartphone has GPS on it, and you can guide yourself through traffic. Well, just think what that displaced, from the GPS providers. They had to deal with that because they were losing all kinds of market share. So that's those are the kind of things from disruptive technology, the trends or whatever. You're going to need new management theories. All right, and how do you deal with that? Well, you look at new and existing management applications, and then that will translate into new and existing management techniques and tools, and then it'll give you a better improvement on your business performance. All right, and this is an iterative thing. It goes, it cycles. All right, and what you're doing is you're looking at what I call legacy management theories input. How did things get done before we had this problem? And you learn a lot from that. Like if I come out of the telecom business, and when they finally got to fiber optics, there's still some terms in fiber optics that started way back when it was a mechanical switch, running sound, through. And so that it's all these learnings that build on learnings, so that there's things to be learned from what has happened and why, to be able to give us better insights on how to attack, and better approach, the new challenges. So that's what this is all about. All right. Talking a lot. Is there any questions right now? How am I doing? Am I talking too fast? Um, you can use the chat to give me some information. Anybody want to comment anything? We're all good? Go ahead, thumbs up. Okay. All right. So this map is shown in every topic slide deck presentation. So what we're going to do is, we start, around here, um, with some of the early ones out of the Industrial Revolution, and then Revolution, and then as we go through, we're going to pick up these different theories and see where they take it. So you're going to see this, and you're going to see where we are. So in this particular chart, you can see that we were going to, it was in a topic that was talking about the classical approach, going through. Okay, so again, a good document to review before each test and assignments 2 and 3. I get back to this, I talked about it. Here's the link. Slides were added to a brief history, to kind of give you the full piece around, as the full piece around, all the theorists that we're looking at, all the theories that we're looking at, and the associated principles. So that's really what this is piece. So I can't say enough about, pulling this up. And if you go under, Blackboard under the commentaries and under topic 1, you'll actually see that you can click on that document and pull it up, right? Okay, so here's the study approach. All right, there's all kinds of information, right? So what will happen is on the commentary presentation, so test 1 will be, topics 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right. So as we go through, and you're going to see when I get into topic 1 in the next little while, you're going to see some highlighting. You're going to see some embolded lettering. You're going to see some little gold keys that I talk about, that's really gives you a hint as where the test questions are. Will it represent the test question exactly? No, but it really gives you a sense of, okay, this is really important. And how to complement that is that in the e-text, Robbins has different PowerPoints that really kind of enhance, the stuff that's being covered in the commentary PowerPoints. So you'll see, will I make a good manager? You can see that Robbins' PowerPoint for chapter 1 will really give you a good idea of, how to delineate what a good manager is. All right. How do I make decisions? Chapter 3 is really good on showing you those pieces. So already now, these are the two main pieces. And what you're going to find is inside of the topics. So for test 1, there's practice tests located in topic 4, because test 1 is going to be from topic 1 to topic 4. So when you're in topic 4 in the Blackboard section, you're going to see several tests that you can go to, and it'll really give you a sense of how these questions are asked, and at what level they're asked, and at what scope of those questions are. So it's really good to be able to do that. So there's test questions for test example questions for test 1, for test 2, and that'll be later on, and then test 3, and you'll see those, I think, in topic 12 or 13. Okay, so the whole idea then is that you access this test, and it'll be over a 2-day period. So test 1 is going to run from May 22nd to May 24th, and you'll be able to go in there and make sure that your respondus lockdown and webcam capability well before the test. And this is what it looks like. You go into into that topic, and then you click on that test and you start it. Okay, so that's where that is. So this is key. And so now what you do is, to complement, this front end, you review the Blackboard participation activities that you went through, and then look at And if you need more information, then you go into Blackboard and there's some slide decks inside of each topic that the course developer made. And that'll give you more information. And then if you need more, watch our videos. And then if you need more than that, then you go into the e-text that Pearson Revel has given you. So that's the approach. And this part here, this will really kind of hone in, what you really need to know. And you won't be all over the place, right? Trying to figure out how to study for this test. And again, once we get into topic 1 in the next slides, I'm going to show you how I've highlighted things and put emboldened sentences in and a few keys to really know where you can focus. Okay. So when you go into this topic commentary presentations, you'll see here, here's this brief history of management that I put in. That's the one that one presentation I told you about where I added to it. Here's where you can click on to the presentation I'm speaking about now. Here's some things around giving you an idea how the Revel surveys really connect to the theorists, so that, when you're taking those surveys, you really get a sense of, okay, this is why I'm taking this survey. This is how it connects to that. And so that, going through some of this will really give you a sense of, okay, this is really, giving me the background that I need to be able to get things done. Okay, so here's where the Robbins e-text comes in, and where the PowerPoints are so that you can go to those PowerPoints. And oh, by the way, again, you should be able to see topic 1 doesn't have anything, but say topic 2 will probably have the actual file of that Robbins. Well, here's it. Okay, so here's one Robbins PowerPoint presentation that you click on. So they're all under the topics, is what I'm trying to say. All right. Okay, so that's where that is. Then there's one mistake that I have to change in the course outline. And this is May the 29th. And I don't know how I missed that because I went over this thing 100 times. Okay, so again, in terms of chapter 1, you go through this slide deck. We'll provide you with some great insights to complete assignment number 2. All right. And again, you download that from the commentary directory, so you'll see that. So here's one of my heroes, Stephen Covey, right? And one of the most profound things he said is, you always begin with the end in mind. And really what he's saying is, have a vision of what things should look like. And that's really gives you direction on what you need to do and how you need to do it, right? So to begin with the end in mind means you start with a clear understanding of your destination. And in strategic planning terms, they call that, the future design end state. All right, that's what they call it. All right, and you're going to better understand how you do that. So here we are. The future end state is that we want to have explored management principles, theories, and concepts and frameworks, and how these lead to effective management organizations. And that's what's going to give you the capability to take the next step when things are going to start changing like crazy, around artificial intelligence. This is just information. If you want to know anything about, what they call deliberate practice. The deliberate practice is a way to be able to make practice meaningful, to get change from it. And our friend here, Art Turek, he's taken deliberate practice and he shows you how to be a better manager. And essentially what he tells you is you manage your career and yourself as if you were an elite performer, just like any athlete or professional golfer or solo, virtuoso musician, right? So those are that this is a really kind of good way. And if you want the summary, email me. I'll email you the summary, and go from there. So here's how this all comes together, right? So you're going to be doing assessments, so assignments, and learning activities, and they're all building blocks, and they build from each other, and so that that will help you in the end, to do your actual assignments and write the tests. So that's what that has to do. Here's a little piece on where a due date, so you can see what's a homework deliverable versus when you should have certain Pearson Rebel surveys done, to be able to move along, when the test is actually going to be done, those kind of things. All right. So you want better marks? Know the theories and apply the theories in the assignments. That's key. That's where you're going to get better marks. And so see how that all connects. So we talked about filling out the group charter, but here's one of the documents that I created to really give you a sense of how this all comes together. So you can see that in the classical category of theories, one of the theorists that worked in that period is Frederick Winslow Taylor. What date and what theory principles that he created. All right, and then based on those theory principles, what tools and techniques came out of that. Right, so you see how it all connects together. And I've gone through, and there's about 4 pages, or it's a 9-page document, going from classical all the way to modern, to see who the players were, and that in itself, when you're doing assignment number 2, use that to get a sense of being able to address the questions that I'm asking. Okay. All right. Now, here's another document that I created that shows you, where the survey, so here in topic 1, there's a personal assessment of management skills. And then, where does that apply? Well, it applies to modern theory. And who's the contributor around personal assessment? Well, Daniel Goleman. And Daniel Goleman is one name that you should not forget, because he brought in this emotional intelligence concept, and so that's another modern approach that's come out of the evolution of management theories and principles. And if you take a look at how HR recruiters recruit these days, they look for people with high levels of emotional intelligence. Why? Because they know that they're going to be able to manage with people much better, because they know how to do it, right? So those are the kind of things. So I wanted to connect that piece so that you can see how, like psychological personality types and preferences. Well, Myers-Briggs is a key piece that tests the theories that Carl Jung had put together to be able to characterize these archetypes. Okay, so that's the other document. So working the group participation activities on each topic will have a great payoff, because it gives you team experience and in your future life as well. So you're working towards learning these practices to go away with, and you may not remember all of this, right? But what you'll have in the back of your head is, oh yeah, we took something like that, and this is what it was. And you just go into Copilot or ChatGPT and ask about it, and all of a sudden it comes out, and you got a really good sense of how you can use that knowledge or that skill to be able to further your agenda, when you're working, in your prime job. Okay, so what's planning all about? Planning is a gap analysis, so it's all about where are you now, where do you want to be, and then how you're going to get there. So what you do is you identify this gap between your baseline or your current state and your desired end state, your vision. You identify that gap, and once you identify that gap, the plan almost manifests itself, right? because you know what you have to do, and then you just need to sequence it in the right place and make sure that the interconnections are there to different things in your organization or whatever. So what's going to happen here with you is that all these Pearson Revel surveys will prove insights about yourself. All right. And then you may have a sense of, who do you want to be? What do you want to do, in your next great corporate experience? And then that defines the gap. And then it gives you a sense of how you're going to develop yourself. And let me tell you this is that, I got promoted many times in my corporate experience. And each time that I had, not each time, but most times, especially at the more senior levels, they would haul me in and they'd make me go through all these tests and surveys. And as a matter of fact, one or two of them, I even had to, work with a psychologist. And guess what? All these surveys you're getting for free. I mean, the company spent thousands of dollars to have their employees go through these surveys. So you're really getting something special. And that's what I'm saying is hold on to those, because you can go back to that and you'll change, you'll move on, but you'll see where you started and you'll get a better sense of where you can be going. Okay. So that's why you start with, a baseline. Where are you on this development curve? Maybe you're just a beginner. Some of you are really skilled in particular areas of management, but to know where your baseline is and then knowing, where you need to be as an elite performer and being an expert, well, then that gap will tell you, what you need to do to be better. Okay. All right. So establishing your personal attributes, skills and capabilities, that's the baseline. All right. And, that's why I put this together. All right. And the thing is too, is that, understand, with this baseline, here's some management training. You can take leadership training, you can take soft skills, project management training, performance management training, conflict management training, risk management training, client relationship management training, so that if you know where you're at and you know where you're going to be going or where you'd like to work, you start looking at your own personal development and where you need to enhance your skills to better increase your chances to get employment and then to move along and progress in that employment. Okay. All right. So here's where, this is the baseline. Here's where you're at. All right. And here's where, you would understand where your gaps were to be able to get there. All right. Here's something that I kind of reconstituted. This is an old an old design that came out, I think, of the 70s, and it's just so relevant today. It's a Xerox model of planning, basically. All right, and it's basically, where are you now? That's the baseline, and how did you get there? Because you got to know some of the history on how you got there as well. Just like you need to know some of the history of why the theorists created that theory, because the why is so important, right? What were they trying to achieve and why? And then, so that really gives you a really good solid notion of what that baseline is. And then, where do you want to be and who do you want to be? And then that establishes the gap. And then what you do is, you create goals to get there. So it's that important. And we're going to talk about current state assessment, in the materials that you're going to go through. And there's a discovery. So that's where, you define what the problem is. And, first you've gathered all this information. And the thing is, you need to gather the right information, and that's where you need help. And we're going to talk a lot about biases, like cognitive biases, on how we think a certain way, and it affects or kind of downgrades our approach because we don't recognize the kind of biases that we have in collecting that information. And then we identify the problem, and identifying the problem, as Einstein said, is 90% of the solution. Because if the better you identify the problem, the more apparent the solution is, and the more rigorous the solution is. And then you evaluate that gap analysis. You look for opportunities for improvement. You look at eliminating waste, and then you come up with recommendations. So again, evaluate your own baseline of your capabilities through the 30 plus Pearson level surveys, and then you'll be able to be, you'll have a really good sense of what's going on. We're going to talk about a little bit about current state and future state, as we're going through, and here's a better notion of what's going on. And this, I created this piece, all right? And what I learned, and you're going to see this, and I think it's topic 9, where you're going to have to start establishing goals. If you have too many goals, you don't get anything done, all right? And so that the Franklin Institute of Business Research said that if you've got 11 to 20 goals, in your plan, going forward, the chances of reaching excellence are 0. All right. If you got 4 to 10 goals, well, you might do well in 1 or 2 reaching excellence. But if you got 2 to 3, you're likely going to get them all done. And what it is that a lot of people, are always looking at the things that are really urgent and really important, right? And so that sometimes I don't know if you've ever heard that experience, that saying that you're up to your waist in alligators and you forgot to drain the swamp, right? So that's what spending all your time looking at the most important, most urgent. What you really should do is you should allocate at least 30% of your time looking at the most important, but maybe not so urgent, because that's where you start developing track, to be able to progress and to expand and stretch into another area. So I'm going to talk about that as we go through the planning. So here it is. You've got 6 assignments. The first one is this assessment. You don't need to do anything but fill it out. It's due, May the 8th. But this one here is key, to really get an idea of where you think you are as a manager. That's an individual submission. You submit that and upload it into topic 6. And the thing is that, look at that video that I've produced for that. It's, on maybe the second slide of this presentation. And then you're gonna be given a test to do online. And again, remember, Respondus monitored. If you need any information about Respondus, lockdown browser, go to the library, or just go to that support for inside of RDP, and they'll help you out with that. Maybe it's the question I can answer. I'd be happy to do that as well. Right, and then you'll have some time over May 22nd to 24th to be able to complete that test, on your own time remotely. This one here, assignment number 3, I think will really prepare you for when you leave this program. And I'd suggest, invest a fair amount of time in that. And what I've done in these assignments as well is I've given you references, main references to look into to be able to do those assignments, rather than just leaving you saying, okay, do the research. And so that it should really kind of give you a good sense of context to be able to do those assignments. And that will help you kind of, put out a product that will really give you insights, getting onto this program. Okay, the Amazon Group Team Project, it's worth a lot of your overall mark. And the thing is that, I keep on saying that keep your information on all your activities, because a lot of the tools are discussed in these questions. There's about 19 questions, and you have to select the questions you want to answer. And I'll get into that as we get into that assignment. But know that as you're learning this stuff, keep that stuff together for you, and the better that you grasp these things. And not only that, you might set up, in the template, and then use that very template then to answer the question, but answer it differently, right, based on the requirements of the question. So that's where that's going to come in handy. Assignment number 5 is a team member review, and it really kind of taps into how did this go? How did this go with this team? What did you learn? What did the team do? And again, looking at the background information around decision making and team leadership, as you go through the content of this course, that's going to help you answer the questions in a more informed way. And again, I'm not looking for big long paragraphs, but I'm looking for economic substantive content, if I could call it that way, right? Okay, and then again, number 6, it's a post-assessment survey. Probably take you maybe 20 minutes to do it, but it'll give us a sense of how you've progressed, and how your insights have changed over what you think of management principles. Okay, and this is yeah, I'll talk about that. So here's just one slide to kind of keep in mind, because of that Amazon project, you might want to do a lot more research around that. But these 14 Amazon leadership principles will have a good way of helping you answer a lot of those questions, on that number 4 assignment. Okay, so here's where the pointers come in. Okay, so when I provide slides, sometimes I will bold words, sometimes I will underline, sometimes I will shade in yellow, or sometimes I'll use golden keys, right? So those are the key pieces that you pick up on these commentary PowerPoints. And that will really kind of set the scope of what to look for. Now, will it tweak to, will it give you an insight as to what the actual question is on a test? No, but it'll point to what's important to know. Okay. And again, if you have any questions around that, send me send me an email, and we'll work from there. Okay. So now we're starting on topic 1. Right. We're talking about the basic management functions, and what I'd like to do is I'm just going to just shut the camera down and the mic down, and give us maybe a 10-minute break, and then I'll come back and finish that. So I'm looking at 2:25 right now. So I'll look at you know uh, 2:35. I'll come back and start working that, and maybe you can take a break and do what you need to do. Okay. So I'm just going to I'm not going to stop the recording or anything, but I will just shut the mic down, and then these next slides now are for topic 1, and you can already see that, hey, I've highlighted this particular title. So this must be really important, right? So that you need to know about this, and I'll cover that off when we get back. Okay, any questions at all? Okay, there's I see Terrence here put in a post. So is not part of entrepreneurial style finding an economic solution to new business using renewable resources to build from, which in turn would make the new product highly efficient? Absolutely. So, we're going to talk about triple bottom line, Terrence, and that's where you take a look at, what's sustainable. And if you take a look at the EV market, and you take a look at what China's doing, they've done all the right things, right? They invested in better battery technology. They invested in better EVs. And why? Well, they've got an environmental problem like you wouldn't believe. All right. And what they're doing as well is that their engineering is world standard in terms of robotic assembly and all those things. And the best renewable resource is the sun, right? So that's where that's going. So I hope that that's a good example to kind of answer your question. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to shut my camera, and I'll be back at 2:35. Okay, we're back, and I just replied to Grant. He said maybe we should stick around after to discuss the groups, and I'd be happy to do that. So just remind me when I get on the last couple of slides. I'll let you know when I'm getting near the end, and we can do that, no problem. Okay. Okay, so this is the first slide around topic one. And what we're talking about is basic management functions. All right. So what's a function? Well, it's a discipline, right? So planning would be a management function. Accounting would be a management function. But these aspects now are generic groupings of what goes on in those functions, right? So again, this is a highly important subject. It'll be on the test. There's no doubt about it. You can see I highlighted. And here's what you really need to worry about is planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. And I'll explain that. But also what you need to know as well is that there's different levels of management. And this is important in terms of the test to understand that there's top management level, there's middle management level, and there's lower management level. And what you and here's the breakdown of what you see in top management, board of directors, general manager, CEO, those kind of things, and middle management, branch managers, marketing managers, and then lower management, mainly on the on the line kind of thing, office superintendent, supervisors. And what happens is, as you go up, from lower level management to top management, the amount of time that you spend in these functions changes. So as you go up towards top management, you're doing a lot more planning. All right. As you go down to lower management, you're doing a lot more leading because you're right there on the interface. Right. So I'm going to talk about that a little more, but those are the four pieces that you should memorize. That I would strongly suggest that. So here we are, planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. And if you look at planning, and you can see now I've highlighted this in planning, there's key goals, objectives, and strategies. So knowing that's a really integral part of planning. Here you can see on leading, all right, there's a key here, all right? So I said keys, highlights, bolded, all right. That all tells you that there's something important here. So you could see on leading, you're providing direction and guidance, right? And say on a line function, you're doing a lot of leading because you're really showing, the workers, what they really have to do, right? So those are key two aspects, in these four quadrants. And so to know, you know, to know these four functions and knowing these definitions, right, will really help you. So leading is, motivating, and leading and engaging, right? And what you want is at that level of leading, you want to inspire and you want to engage. So that's key. Controlling, it's not carrot and stick, controlling is all about, setting targets, having key performance indicators that measure your progress that you can measure very effectively. And that's what controlling is all about, is understanding, if I could use this term, it's an accounting term, understanding the variance, all right, from what you said you were going to be doing in terms of performance and where you're at. That gap is the variance, right? Sometimes you do better, maybe you got a positive variance. That's possible too. Okay. So this is how it all comes together, and so you have a strategic domain. So setting strategic direction, mainly at this level here, right? Uh, and then on the operational side, it's really delivering results. And then on the interpersonal, it's about engaging and building, sustaining relationships. And then these all intersect, all right? Well, to deliver results, and setting direction, it's all about planning and organizing. Between building, sustaining relationships and strategy, it's all about creating alignment. And I'm going to talk about alignment a lot. I have an absolute big belief in alignment, and because the more that you can align people, processes, equipment, factors, the more powerful that you become. And I'll probably show you a slide on that I created way back when on strategic alignment to be able to do that. All right. So, but at the key, at the key, it's all about leading. All right. So that's really important. So you can see now what I've done is sometimes I've extracted the actual slide out of the slide decks that are in each topic that the course developer prepared. All right. And so the to give you more about the actual contributors. So Fail, was a key theorist that created the theories and management principles. But one of the things is that this thing, all right, this came from this guy, Fail, all right, the functions of management. So he goes to explain them so you can, and you can see we're going to talk about this in topic 9 and topic 10. Okay, so another thing, all right, so here's the highlighted types of management. So there's different kinds of management. There's formal management, like a team leader, a first line supervisor, middle manager, project lead, top manager. That's the formal part. And then there's different types of management in terms of functional managers. Well, functional managers are responsible for just one organizational activity. So if you take a look at a general manager, they're responsible for several organizational activities, but you can have a shift boss. All right, that is a functional manager. That shift boss is entirely responsible for getting the employees that report to him or her uh, uh, to achieve certain performance outcomes. All right. In operations, all right. So that's what an example of a functional manager would look like. Now, all right. So see so what here, this is highlighted. When you're asked any assignments, what type of leader you are to use the standard types of management titles. So use these titles in the assignment, when you're asked those certain questions, right? And so effective leaders use various management styles. So already you're knowing that this is an important way of getting good marks in assignment number 2 and others, I think, in assignment number 5. All right. So here's the different types of styles. So autocratic, well, we're talking about Trump here, right? Makes decisions at the top of the pyramid. Democratic, team's voice is at the forefront. You get consensus going on. Laissez-faire, hands-off approach. And some people say, well, what kind of management is that? Laissez-faire, that translates from French into, well, let them do whatever they want. But if you're a manager and you have to manage a group of experts and they know a lot more about the content than what you do, well, you're not going to tell them what to do, right? You're going to set the direction, you're going to set the goals, and you're going to say, hey, this is where I want you to achieve. Now, what do you think you need to do that? And that's what the hands-off approach is. And if you're trying to tell an expert how to do their job when you don't even know as much as what they do, well, then that's a problem. Terrence, you have a question? Go ahead.
Okay, so if you're a manager.
Well, I'm not hearing you in terms of volume here. Oh, what did you say?
Can you hear me
It,
now?
hardly. I can hardly hear you.
Now?
A little better. Okay, ask your question.
How about now?
Still, it's and I'm an old guy. I'm half deaf, so I turned up the volume on my speakers here. So go ahead.
I don't.
Okay, that's bad.
Anything
Okay,
new?
well, yeah, that's good. Go ahead, ask your question.
I can't hear you now.
Oh, you can't hear me? Yeah, you should be able to. Can you hear me now? How about just put a comment, place a comment on the chat.
Yeah.
Right, can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
You can hear me now?
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Okay, so if you're a laissez-faire, hands-off approach,
Yeah.
and the people that you are in charge of have way more experience than you, then are you more or less directing their productivity than you are them as a whole? Or
Yeah, that's right on. You are directing their productivity. You're telling them what the target is. You're telling them how you're going to measure their progress, and then you comment on, if they've made their milestones. But you're not going to tell them how to do what they have to do. Does that make sense?
well, yeah, because you don't know how to do it. So
Yeah.
how can
Yeah.
you tell them how you want it done?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All right, good.
Yeah.
So then there's bureaucratic, so you want to use bureaucratic, in what they call a machine bureaucracy, like, so let's say your group of firemen, you're going to say, oh, we got to put out that fire, and in the top section of the building, you're not going to be able to, well, let's have a team meeting and see how we're going to do this. They're going to execute, right? They have strict procedures to follow. And so that in the military and the police service and, hospital operations, you need a certain amount of bureaucratic management style, because you can't risk, a loss of life or loss of property, right? So that's what that's all about. Servant leadership, this is all about, hey, I'm going to help you I'm going to help you achieve what you need to do in your job. It doesn't mean that, you can do whatever you want. I'm still going to tell you what to do, but I'm here for you, so it's focusing on serving and supporting those teams. And that's, that's sort of an empathy type of management style. And we're going to hear about that a little more as well. Coaching, it's guiding and development teams, and we're going to get into coaching a lot. I think when we get into about topic 8, or we're going to, we're going to talk about when coaching is required, because sometimes you need a direct, sometimes you need a coach, and that'll come in handy. And then charismatic, inspiring and motivating, and the people will follow, these charismatic type people. Transactional, you focus on rewards and punishments. If you do this, I do this for you. If you do that, I'll do this for you. If you don't do that, I'll punish you. All right, that's transactional. Authoritative, top-down approach. It's like, especially in where there's no place for error, you'll see that the command comes down, and you got to follow what comes from the top. And then consultative is like, hey, well, I'm going to find out, well, what do you think? Because you're an expert or whatever, well, how do you think we should do this differently or whatever? And so you're always looking at seeking employee feedback, and taking the concerns very seriously. And the thing is, I've worked for um, managers who pretend to be consultative, and they ask you questions and engage you just to make you feel like you're okay, and then they turn around and they decide what they're going to do anyways. So you've got to be you got to be honest about it, right? And and so, because that will not build trust if you're appearing to be consultative, and then you're really not listening to people. So that's where that is. So this is
But
really
then,
key. Yeah, go ahead.
but then doesn't that not make you consultative? Like if you're not actually
Well,
listening
that's
for
right.
feedback,
Yeah. Yeah, you're not being earnest, right? And people see through that. I mean, um, the people
does,
aren't, yeah,
doesn't that
they're
kind of
not.
make you more of a two-faced Democratic type thing?
Well, could be. Yeah, maybe you created a new category here, but that's where that is. Okay, so there's different, leadership styles. You can see there's nothing highlighted on here. This is for your information, but it kind of just gives you a, idea of what we talked about. But here's one that's important. Again, you can see it's highlighted. What do managers do? Well, they take action, right? And the thing is, they not only take action inside, but they're orchestrating outside. Sometimes they're negotiating for resources or they're negotiating for support or that. But they encourage, so they take action, they encourage, and they use information to guide people's actions. So when they say use information, that means you're measuring and you're communicating, and that way you're controlling. And controlling doesn't mean carrot and stick. It means you're saying, hey, here's the target. Here's where you should have been in terms of a milestone because we're measuring this, and this is the best thing that we can do to measure this particular performance or output. And you're overperforming. We're going to give you a bonus. Oh, you're underperforming. Well, okay. Do you need support or do you need a talking to kind of thing? So that's where that is. So take action, encourage other people to take action, and use information to guide people's actions. So communicate. All right, and then frame. So here's something that I kind of learned over the year is that and actually there's a guy by the name of Simon Sinek. If you're ever, if I'll just put this in the chat here. Uh, okay, he probably had some of the most um, popular chats on TED Talks, right? And what Simon Sinek talks about is, you know, uh, knowing the why. All right. So that's what framing context for everyone else's work is that you tell them why they're doing this, because why gives them confidence in direction and it gives them purpose. And that's key. And another one that should be highlighted. All right. So they set the context, they frame it, they put the schedule together, but managers are there, and you'll get this from one of the theorists. I I can't remember which one it is now. They reduced instability. So management is all about creating stability. Uh, that's a key thing that you should remember for a test question. All right, they reduce they reduce instability. They create stability. That's what one of the key doings of managers all about. So this is a good slide to remember. Okay. Yeah. So it's Chester Barnard that talked about stability. So he's the guy, right? So So you should know about him. And again, if you look at that presentation that I put together, that embellishment of the the Pearson presentation, I've listed all these guys and what they're all about, right? So that it'll help you kind of do the assignments and get through the tests. So here's the thing, okay, so here's what I was trying to get across. You could see this. Managers are responsible for reducing instability. That's one of the key aspects of what managers do. This is the guy, and here's what he talked about. This is the theories, the management theories of his time that he thought were important were purpose and values. Gets back to what I talked about Simon Sinek in terms of purpose. If you ever want to know anything about purpose, that's who to Google. And then translating that into core values, because people then behave based on the core values that are set as part of the culture in the organization, and then having long-term audacious goals. And long-term audacious goals is a really key piece. And again, when we get into goals, I'm going to talk about the Franklin Institute and 4DX. It's probably some of the best information I've come across in goal theory, and we'll cover that as we go along. Okay, so Barnard's functions of executive: create a system of communication, secure cooperation from individuals, formulate and define the organization's purpose, right? The why, all right? And what he said is that there's this zone of indifference, and subordinates will not challenge communication from superiors. So he was aware of that, and that's why just in in establishing. I know in my own experience, what I did was I tried to take the fear out of challenging me when I was part, in going up in management positions and leadership positions. And that worked really well for me because people would tell me the bad news, And so I had this one guy that worked for me. I was always finding new projects, right? And they used to say, well, Gary's coming by with another drive-by. And I'd say, well, I want you to work on this particular new project because we can bring in at that time I was in sales and marketing. We could bring in a lot more revenue because of this. And one of the guy, Wayne, he would say, okay, what do you want to drop? Right. And so that there was no zone of indifference. They knew that they can challenge me. And what I would say is, well, we've come up with a framework on evaluating opportunities. You go down into there and use those criteria to see what we're going to drop. All right, so that's how I got around that. Okay. Um, Charles Spalding, I think one of the least uh, uh, acclaimed type of theorist. He brought a lot to management, and just to know about him, he had the 8 fundamental necessities. You should kind of know about this, right? Cooperation and teamwork, authority, responsibility, division of labor. That's where the assembly line came in. Adequate manpower, adequate financial capital, feasibility analysis. So really doing a business case before you do something, having an advertising budget, conflict resolution. And again, I'm hoping that conflict resolution, you'll have some learnings in your team. So what are the key characteristics of effective organizations? Participatory management. And we're gonna get into those a little more, as we get through. We're gonna talk about Blanchard and those kind of things. Guy by the name Blanchard, we'll come into that. And here's where corporate social responsibility, and that's really tied into sustainability and the triple bottom line that I'm going to keep talking about forever. All right, because I think that's the balanced approach to be able to look at doing things right and making sure that it's not just profit driven. Okay, so what is a management? What is management? This is key, and I'm sure this is a test question. You got to understand efficiency versus effectiveness. Okay, so you can be very effective, but if you're not doing the right things, it ain't doing anything for the performance of your corporation. So you start with doing the right things right. Okay, so that you choose the right things to do, and that really that comes up drops out of your gap analysis in terms of where you want to be in terms of your desired end state. And then the efficiency part comes in. It's like, okay, you know what the right things are to do, but now you do those right things right. Okay, so this is a key slide right here. Mintzberg, one of my heroes. This guy, he's probably 80 years old now, and he's still at McGill in Montreal, still publishing. And this guy is he's the guru on strategic planning, and he's the guru on management structures and managerial roles. So that we're going to bring him up a fair amount. I know that it's not highlighted here but there will be some things highlighted about Mintzberg as we go along in these slides. Okay, so types of management, I covered that off right on the very first slide. All right, and understanding the difference between formal management, right, and the levels. So this is really key, and you're going to do some homework around this. You're going to actually do a organizational structure and one of the topic activities, so that you really need to understand this piece. And also it comes up in assignment 2 because it asks you what level of management that you want to aspire to. And again, that's really assessing your baseline against, where you want to be. And that'll really give you a sense of how much personal development that you want to do, right? So here's this thing about, what things change. So as you go down, you have a lot more direct authority, all right? So, like a line manager has a lot of authority on the workforce, direct, all right? Whereas, from top management, the main authority you have is over your middle management, right? And not over the actual actions that make the organization, successful. But as you go up, you got a lot more responsibility. So this top management is responsible for the whole lot underneath here, right? So that's where you need to understand that piece. And here's where I got back to those 4 functions of planning. So take a look at, at senior management, they're doing a lot more planning and organizing than anybody else, right? Down here. But you can see that in lower management, they're doing a lot of leading, right? And leading means inspiring, engaging, and motivating people to get the job done, right? And the thing is, you can see that the controlling is set by policy, really, from the top in terms of what are the targets, and then what are the key measurements that they're going to require to be able to oversee what's going on. You can see the big key here, right? This big key, really important stuff, okay? All right. So this is just more, information to support this piece. So that's what that is. And then leadership versus management. So here's the thing is that, when I was going through this stuff, many years ago, they would talk about the difference between a leader and a manager, right? And in today's world, you got to be a leader and a manager. You really got to be tied in as a leader. Like say that you're you're a line manager, on a production line. If you don't understand really where the organization is going from a leadership point of view, you're never really going to provide the proper focus, for your people to be able to do the things that are really going to get to those overall outcomes of the organization, and vice versa. If you're a leader and you have no idea, how things are happening at the front line, you have no idea of the issues, you have no idea of the expertise and the capability that's needed to do something, you're not going to be an effective leader. So in today's world, you really need to do both, right? But just recognize the definitions, all right? When you're leading, you're producing and responding to change by seeing opportunities in the instability. Remember, management looks after, by Chester Barnard, looks at making things stable, right? When there's certainty, people know what to do, right? And they're not second guessing. They're not hesitating, right? So that's what you're doing as a leader. You're creating this view of what success looks like and how you're going to maintain that. As a manager, you're responding to the complexity by focusing on the control and the predictability, right? In terms of, okay, so here's how the operation should go. This is what the quality of the output should look like. And here's how we're measuring that, and here's what we're going to do if we're not achieving those targets, right? So that's what the manager does. Okay. So again, now there's no highlighting on here. This is extra stuff, so it gives you a better idea from what are all the attributes around leading and managing, going through, and yeah, this is just for information. Okay. All right. So here's where we start. You don't have to know this, I mean, from a test point of view, but it's a point I'd like to make is that if you take a look at leadership skills and what you do well, and you have to know what the situation is all about, that's where you get the greater success, all right? Because the answer sometimes is, when they say, well, okay, you've got a situation like this, and what are you going to do about it? The answer is, it depends. Okay. It depends. It depends on what the context is. It depends on, what's the organization up against. So this has a big a bearing on, on how you're going to do something well. Okay. And again, and I think, Terrence, you said that you took microeconomics. Uh, so it's all about scarcity, right? You only have so much resources. You only have so much time. So how do you make the best choices? And how you make the best choices is really understanding the situation, and the puts and takes, or the trade-offs that you're going to make to be able to be successful. So that's what that's all about. Okay, not going to talk about these too much. But here's Mintzberg now talking about the qualities of a successful manager. You don't have to memorize this or anything, but have a look at that piece. But here's something that that Mintzberg kind of looked at. So if you know anything about Peter Drucker, he's sort of one of the pioneers way back when. And what you got to understand is all these theorists, they build on each other. They've studied the people before them. And Mintzberg has studied Peter Drucker, right? So, this is so germane, or it's so directly related to, what Mintzberg is telling you about these things. The task of leadership is to create an alignment of strengths so as to make people's weaknesses irrelevant, right? And I'm going to talk about alignment a lot more as we go through there. Well, here it is. So I generated this, right? So if you take a look at how to do things, you go on the internet and you say, how would you do a certain, procedure or whatever? And then an expert will say, well, it's all about purpose. Or another expert will say, well, no, it's all about, the mindset that you have. You know what? Alignment is about everything. So if you want to, you need to introduce clarity. People need to know exactly, what you want to do. They want to know what the end state looks like. But then, you need a focus because you only have so much resources. So you need to look at, okay, what are the meaningful things that you need to do? And then how do you really get impact out of that focus? What that's where the rubber hits the road. And then how do you produce the results? So if you can align all these things, um, to get to where you need to go, um, that's the power, right? That's the power. And just, I remember the CEO tell us, related this story about, okay, so, when you're sweating, you've got, you got a bead of sweat on your forehead. Well, you just wipe it off, right? But think of a hurricane where you got a gazillion beads of water going in one direction. That's power. Okay. And if you can align those beads of water, if you can align all these little attributes of leadership, to produce what you need, now you can accomplish extraordinary things. I mean, that's the thing to remember. Okay. Okay. And again, I'll be talking a lot about core values, and what I'd suggest, and that's something we don't have as a survey in Pearson Rebel, but understand what your core values are. All right. Understand that in a very significant way. And there's all kinds of free surveys that you can do on the internet to find out. And and the thing is, you understand the order of your core values. All right. So myself, all right, I always talked about, family was a really important thing, and work ethic was a really important thing. Two core values I espoused. All right. But I didn't realize in my earlier years that unintentionally, my bias, you know, uh, was uh, you know, getting things done more than it was family. And until I understood the priority between those two core values, I wasn't making the right decisions. Right. So the more that you can understand the values of an organization, your personal values, and how you fit, the more comfortable you're gonna be in that organization because you fit, and then we all make decisions based on our core values, whether we know it or not. And I think that's what's really important. Okay. All right. Understanding your core values will help you deal with conflict in the workplace, no doubt. I won't talk about this, but maybe I will someday. I created this. This is what I call my layer cake of values. And if your foundational values aren't there, well, then anything above that will will crater. All right. So if your core values, like say, all right, okay, so my vision is to run a charity, right? But my core values is I'm a criminal, and I believe in just stealing from people. Well, that ain't going to help me, run a charity. All right. So this is what they call a layer cake of. So if something below this isn't congruent, then everything else just doesn't work. Okay. So that's it. All right. Another thing, I come up with these helpful hints. Hopefully, again, Brian Tracy is one of my heroes, and he's a Canadian, by the way, and he worked in the oil field, and he landed up uh, one of the best sales training consultant in the world. All right. And then here's one about getting over your procrastination. This is a really good piece too. So that's it for topic one. And now I guess Grant, if you want to talk about the groups, let's bring that up. So do you have a question?
Yeah, I was wondering, how do we go about, picking groups?
Okay. So uh, what you do is hopefully that somebody in this course, or I don't know how many courses you've taken to where you've worked with other people, and you know that they're in the course. Um,
Yeah, I don't
and
know. I'm pretty sure I don't know anybody here.
Yeah. Um, well, Terrence, I think you're a group of two of three right now, right? So maybe you want to talk to Terrence here, and
Yeah.
if Terrence agrees, I'll send you his email, and you can talk to him, and then get into group 11.
Well, it's got two people for sure. But Naomi isn't on anymore, so
Oh, okay. Well, okay. Just let me. I'll go into the system and see what's going on here. Uh,
no, like she's probably still on the list. I mean, she's not part of our chat right now. She left the
oh
chat.
no, oh no, you're right. Okay, so let's just see.
Because it would probably be good to ask her as well.
Yeah. Okay. So why don't I connect the three of, well, let me just get into, make sure that I've,
Because no one's been voted leader yet, so I can't make that decision on my own.
well, no, absolutely. I agree with you. Okay.
What program are you guys in?
Business.
Oh, okay. Right on. I'm a network admin guy.
Oh, you're admin?
Yeah, network admin.
There's a lot to do there too.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I found it interesting that courses are completed already and what I still have to get through.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay. I'm just getting into here.
just finished up my first semester there, so
Me
this will
too.
be semester number 2, and
I don't think spring really counts.
yeah.
Well, it's
It doesn't really.
from what I've been told, it's the most hectic, so people try to avoid it. But it's the
Yeah.
shortest and the most aggravating. Because you're still doing a 3 credit course, but you're doing it in a fraction of the time.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like doing